Thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. Look at our commercial plans. I'd like to take us kind of to a different phase of the discussion. We've heard a lot so far today about our broad strategy. I think we've gotten a lot of clarity around some of our areas of emphasis, and we've begun to see how that's coming to life through our main commercial priorities. I'd like to talk to you today about sustainability and how I think it can enable our commercial strategy. In fact, how sustainability can build commercial relevance, which is our main priority for the year. But before I do that, let me give you a little bit of context. And I'll do this over a couple sides. Sustainability means different things to different people. And over time, if you look at how it's evolved in terms of business thinking, if you go back into the early 70s, it's really about compliance. How do we keep ourselves out of trouble? How do we keep from getting cited by the EPA and fined for a bad water discharge? It evolved more than also to take in aspects of philanthropy and community. How do we show that we're giving back to the places that and the consumers that we're doing business with, making charitable donations, supporting good causes. As you get into the 90s, you see, similar to the compliance thing, but a little bit more sophisticated view of it as a risk management tool. How do we manage our reputation, and how do we manage the care of our assets and resources in a way that makes our business more cost effective, so it reduces financial risk, reduces legal risk, and reduces reputational risk. Now we're seeing in the 2000s and where we're coming today to more of a strategic value proposition. How does sustainability actually create value for the business? Can it bring your consumers closer to your brands? Can you save money? Yes, that's important. Can you ensure that you have the resources and ingredients that you need for the future to run your business? So more of an integrated full system approach I think is where we're headed and what I'd like to make an argument for today. But before we do that, let me ask you, today at MillerCoors, do you think sustainability helps our top and bottom line? Vote now. All right. So people are largely agreeing that it helps both. Others are a pretty strong segment are saying yes, but only at the breweries. And I would offer that that's one of the impacts of a limited view of the definition of sustainability. The way we define sustainability at MillerCoors is inclusive. And in my view, it can grow both the top line, and it can protect and enhance the bottom line. I would say, relative to the answer about the breweries, this is one of the areas that we're doing the best work in sustainability thus far. If you remember the supply chain, you guys should pat yourselves on the back because you've found ways to run the breweries more efficiently and more effectively so that they can be running for years and decades and centuries to come. And it's that kind of adoption of sustainability principles into the way that the breweries are run. It's not a side activity. It's integrated into the way you do your work through things like short interval control. We've shown that it's a culture that gets people to do things in a different way, as opposed to feeling that some experts in sustainability are going to come into your brewery and do this on your behalf. So we're doing well, I think, on the bottom line. When we talk about increasing commercial relevance, we want to talk more about the top line. So we want this broad definition. First, we're about promoting and protecting the responsible enjoyment and marketing of our brands. We sell beer for a living, and our ability to sell beer for a living due in large part to the contextual history lesson that Ed just gave, means that we need a societal license to do so. We need a physical license, actually, in most cases. But we need the approval of society to bring our goods and services to market. I also believe, however, and you'll see this as the slides build, that there's an opportunity to better market our products because we are perceived as the right kind of people selling the right kind of products in the right kind of way. Secondly, and this is, again, an area where I think we've been strong, we want to embed environmental stewardship in the way we operate. We want to think about the environmental impacts of our decisions early on, and we want to manage for them. And then third, we want to increase the awareness and impact from a commercial perspective on the things that we do in communities. And we're trying to scale some programs in order to do that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. So if we're going to do that, do our consumers care? Do millennials care? What do you think? How do they rank environmental, economic, and social sustainability in their own minds? Interesting. Not what I would have expected. Most people still answer this question thinking that environmental sustainability is at the top of the heap. We've done a lot of work and insights in the past year to really determine what millennials care about in this area. And first I want to thank Andy England for his support and Kim Murata for her insistence on getting a brand manager into the sustainability area who could help us do insight work so that we could speak the language of the marketing organization when we came to them with proposals about how to embed sustainability into brand propositions. And the person who's been doing that work is Amanda DeVore, who's been on loan to our group for about a year. And she's really uncovered some interesting things, some of which you would, when you think about the economic context, make a lot of sense. When you talk about sustainability with millennials, the first thing they think about is economic stability, sustainability. So these are the kids that are trying to figure out how to pay off their college loans. They're trying to figure out how to start a new business. They're looking at other friends of theirs who are facing the worst job market coming out of college that arguably we've ever seen. So my world, my economic stability, very important. Secondly, our world, social sustainability. What does my community look like? And particularly, what does my community look like given the fact that it's becoming more diverse and more multicultural every day? So an individual millennial may be a white male like me, right? Younger though. But the likelihood is in their circle of friends is a Latino who maybe someone in their family is having immigration issues. There may be an LGBT person in their circle of friends. So while they're not seeing some of these impacts directly, they're feeling it from their social network. They want to feel like they're contributing to a better our world. And finally, they do think about environmental sustainability, but it's table stakes for them. It's important to them, right? But they grew up putting things in the recycling bin. They grew up with the idea that you should conserve water, that you should conserve energy, that you should turn a light off when you leave a room. So it's interesting, I think, particularly to see how the economic circumstances can change this dynamic, right? In a prosperous economy, if you'd done this thing, in the roaring 80s, middle of the 80s, you probably would have seen environment much higher. It's also circumstantial when it comes to news events. You can have a big event in the environmental space that will pump up environmental concern almost overnight. So what are we doing about this? One of the things we've done early on, as I came into this group, was start to look at our investment strategy, our community investment spending. And we decided that we needed to be more focused. We needed to have a few big trees that were growing. We're going to still water some smaller flowers along the way, but what are the big trees that will define our character over time? So we're trying to group our funding into civic leadership. So particularly when it comes to hometown communities, Golden, Milwaukee, Chicago, but also in our brewery communities, we're going to do some things that are most important to the community, even if they're not the most important to us. All right? Some of our legacy investments may fit into this category, but the important thing is that they're things that are of significance and relevance to that specific community. Obviously, responsibility is another one that's critically important for us. And I think we've got great work that we're doing here and we're building on. I'll give you some examples in a minute. Economic empowerment, again, addressing that millennial insight about the importance of my world, and then water stewardship. There's nothing more important to our business in the future than the supply and availability of fresh water. And when you think about that and you think about the major gains we made in conservation in our breweries, reducing our water to beer ratios aggressively, which we've done over the past few years. Think about that and all that gain, but then understand that only 10% of our water use actually occurs in the brewery. 90% of the water use that's required to produce our products is upstream in the agricultural chain where you're growing barley, hops, and other grains for our beers. So water stewardship, very important to us. Why does this matter? You've heard a little bit of the consumer dimension. Let's think about the retailer dimension. I mean, Walmart, Matt Witherall can tell you about this, and Kim Murad has done a fantastic job here as well with the Walmart team, really taking the opportunity that's created by a big retailer putting pressure on us to be more responsive and be more transparent about the sustainability profile of the products that we're bringing them to put on their shelves. They're creating scorecards, they're grading suppliers by those scorecards, and over time they are promising us that they will make commercial decisions based on those scorecards. So we've got to do this in order to meet retailer expectations. Distributor expectations, I think, are pretty strong as well. They're also setting good examples for us. Scott Whitley at CDC, our distributorship in Denver, is leading the way by putting more fuel-efficient and eco-friendly trucks on the road. Chris Hudgens would know that Powers Distributing in Michigan has been a big leader in this area, particularly in efficient vehicles. And distributors around the country have long been leaders in their local community in terms of investing in things that are important to their constituents. It's also really important, and Michelle and Chris and others who are involved in bringing people into the company will tell you, employee expectations, particularly in the millennial group around sustainability, are extremely high. These kids grew up, reading about Tyco and other firms that lost their way and forgot that they needed to grow their business the right way, and woke up one day and didn't have a business anymore, right? So they want to work at a place that they feel good about, that when they say, I work at MillerCoors, people feed back to them, you guys do the right thing on water. You guys are very involved in the United Way. These validators of a company that is really oriented to doing things in the right way, in a way that will ensure that the business is around for the long term. So it's a very motivating thing, and it's very highly correlated to employee engagement. So what are we doing from a consumer perspective? So I'll just give you 3 quick examples. The first one, which is the furthest along, and Amanda, again, really led the thinking about this. We got great work from cooperation from Dan Hennessy and others on the Coors family of brand teams. We took an insight about recycling, right? And the fact that Bill Coors was involved in the development of the first consumer friendly aluminum can, and the idea of bringing cans back for monetary value. And we built that into a Coors Light promotion for next year. We tested this at Walmart last year. We had a nice lift, fairly small test case, but a nice lift. And we think this is a way to really reinforce the authenticity of the Coors brand, and also act on a consumer insight that to me is very interesting. Millennials want to be heroes in the sustainability area. They want to be seen by their friends to do the right thing. The problem is they're lazy. Amanda calls them slacktivists. So if you can make it easy for them to do the right thing, they'll do the right thing. So we're making it damn easy. You buy ice cold Coors Light, we give money to the recycling program. We get increases in recycling rates. Down the road, we'll help Dave Conte and others who are involved in packaging get better input rates. So they win, we win, kind of a nice cycle there. We're also looking now at an integration, Tom mentioned this morning, of an existing program, the MillerCoors Urban Entrepreneur Series, which frankly has been around, Larry, 10, 12 years at least. Actually was originally an Old English or a Magnum program, I'm not sure which. So we're actually coming full circle. We started out as a brand integrated program, now we're coming back to it. We think that the insights around camaraderie and bringing people together to create good times that there's a nexus between that Miller Lite brand positioning and what we can do with the Urban Entrepreneur Series. So we're working with Ryan Rice, with Sheldon Boyer, Steve Canal, who's just come onto my team, to create an integrated program. We're going to learn in 2013, probably going to scale in 2014. But how can you define a better Miller time than bringing your friends together to create an entrepreneurial business and receiving a grant from MillerCoors and Miller Lite in order to get that off the ground? A last one that I'll mention, and it's on the responsibility front, the Miller Lite Free Rides program, or in the case of the new program here in Chicago, Penny Rides. You know, this is us bringing a solution to our consumers. Andy talked to me a lot as I was taking this new role about, you know, how do you position responsibility with consumers? You don't want to just tell people, you know, how thrilling it is to be a designated driver. You know, basically do the right thing tonight and sit on the side while everyone else has fun, right? That's one approach. But Free Ride says you can have fun responsibly, and we can also help you with a solution to make sure you get home safely so that you remember the events and the activities you were involved in for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. We've got great local buy-in on these programs. Jim McNellis and his team here in Chicago, particularly the new CTA program that we launched over New Year's, I think was a great success. So this one, you know, brings responsibility to life for our consumers in a way that's a solution to their issues and their concerns. All this only happens through people's personal actions, right? This is Leo's People Make It Happen. If you think about zero waste to landfill, and we've got 4 or 5 breweries that are already there. But we got an opportunity this year to have the world's largest zero landfill brewery in Golden, Colorado. And the person who's driving that really is Kelly Harris. You know, he's bringing best practices that he's learned at Trenton and other places. He's sharing with teams. He's getting short interval control put in. He's getting some capital investment, balers, shredders, other things you need. And this is happening because Kelly is waking up every day and saying, I'm going to make this happen. So that kind of personal commitment, I think, is really important. If you look at the HBCU Classics, right, we had a nice little grant program with historically black colleges and universities. We wrote some checks. We presented them at halftime. It was a nice program. Now we've got a program that gets Coors Light onto the floor in retail establishments. We've even got our own Coors Light drum line. So we've taken a simple contribution program that created a nice relationship, and we've added a commercial dimension to it and a marketing dimension to it that's helping us move beer. Mwanza and Moses were key to that, you know, coming from the commercial team and from my team. Folks like James Tolliver, Steve Canal, other people who activated these programs in the marketplace have really done a good job and brought that personal impact. And another example is Puerto Rican Day Parade. Kind of the same thing, you know, supporting a good cause and a good organization around, you know, Puerto Rican pride. But how do we make that really sing for our brands? How do we bring it to life beyond just a scholarship program? I think Chris Rivera and Dennis Barreto and Jose Ruano have really helped us do that. So I think, I hope what you're seeing is that the combination of a clear strategy and a specific approach to bringing commercial relevance to the brands combined with personal impact can really get us to a different place. Let me talk just for a second about our role. And when I say our role, I mean the public affairs and communications team, and particularly Kim Murata's sustainability team and Larry Waters' community commerce team. When I came into this role, I said to these guys, we want to integrate, we want to optimize, and we want to elevate. What do I mean by that? We want to integrate our work into the commercial and operational mainstream of the company, all right? We want to make sure that folks who are working in the brewery, folks who are working on a brand team, folks who are working in a sales office understand what sustainability means in the prism of their world and are practicing it in the right way. Our job is to bring thought leadership, is to build best practices, is to bring process where necessary, simple process as often as possible, so that people are not trying to figure out this, how do I do this, kind of in a dark room or in a vacuum. So we want to be an integrating force. We want to help you do that. We want to optimize the programs, right? I said before, we want to grow some big trees as opposed to thousands of small flowers, right? We want to make sure that the things that we do are big enough and scalable, that they're leverageable. And we want to create more stories. I had a good conversation with Pete last night about some things we're doing in Denver. I'm frankly tired of having our headline be, we gave X organization X amount of money. That's a good headline, but it's not a good story. We want to know when we made that contribution, we sent X number of people to school who never had a chance to go before. We got X number of people the skills that they might require to work in one of our breweries. We helped X number of barley farmers reduce their water usage and reduce their growing cost and produce a higher quality grain. That's what I mean by optimization. And then elevation, which I think is a role for everyone in this team. We have to raise the profile of this work within the company. I say to my team a lot, if we are viewed within the company as an incredibly successful subject matter expert unit that is off doing all this, we fail completely. Our job is to teach you guys how to fish and then continue to go look for where the next fishing opportunity is. Explore it, dimensionalize it, understand it, so we can come back and explain it to you guys in a way that helps you understand how you might do your business differently on a day-to-day basis. So integration, optimization, elevation. The thing we're asking of you is help us get the full system integration. Don't think of this as a sideline, right? Look at what you can do to build into your team's goals and objective specific things that will help us along the sustainability curve. So if you're in sales, do your distributors really have a responsibility plan, or is it just a line that's been filled out in the mullet, right? How do we get true responsibility plans in partnership with our distributors? If you're in a brewery, frankly, I think the plans are pretty clear. But how do you continue to create that culture, just like you've done with safety, that saving things and conserving things and treating our resources and our assets well is just the way we run our business, right? So we want your help as leaders. One, we want you to create a forum so that we can bring this kind of message to groups across the company. So we're going to be looking for time with sales leadership teams, marketing leadership teams, ISC leadership teams, where myself or Larry or Kim or some combination of those folks can get into this a little bit more. And then we want you to challenge your own teams to think about how this would come to life in terms of specific goals and objectives. So we want to get the full system integration, and we think there's a significant value creation opportunity in doing that. I think that's my last slide, but I wanted to end with one thing, and I've been saying this for a while as well, but one of the traps, in my view, of thinking about sustainability is to get too focused on reputation management. In my field, reputation management is a cottage industry, and it's been a buzzword for years. Abraham Lincoln said, "Character is like a tree, and reputation is like its shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing." What I take away from that is we will judge by our actions and not by our words. If we grow a tree, I also like a Chinese proverb that says, "Tall tree, deep roots," right? If we grow a big, sturdy tree or set of trees that define our character, our reputation will take care of itself, right? It becomes an easy thing to do. So I'd just leave you with that. I'd encourage you to reach out to folks on my team if you want more depth on any of this. And again, when it comes back to engagement and leadership, this is a tool for us if we use it in the right way. Look at the engagement scores and look at the scores around responsibility, environmental stewardship, community. They're among the highest in the whole survey, right? They're not main drivers of engagement, but they're important qualitative factors that give people a feeling of sense of belonging and esteem about working for the company. So that's how we define as sustainability. I hope it gives you some clarity about what role we want you to play in it. And I want you to know that we're there as a resource for you to help make these things happen. Cheers. And I think I'm bringing up